Can we start it?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of North Tyneside Council's Cabinet, which is the first virtual Cabinet meeting held by the Council following the recent introduction of regulations by the Government, enabling local authorities to conduct their meetings remotely in the light of the current coronavirus pandemic. My name is Norma Redford, and I am the elected Mayor for North Tyneside, and I will be chairing this meeting. I would like to inform everyone that this meeting is being live streamed to the public on the Council's YouTube. To meet the requirements of the new regulations that all members of the public must, as a minimum, be able to hear the proceedings of the meetings. Colleagues, as you know, a number of residents of North Tyneside have died from COVID-19. In addition, two of our fantastic staff, Brian Clyde and Rachel Preston, have died, as have others who work in North Tyneside. So before we begin this meeting, I would like to ask everyone to observe a minute's silence as a mark of respect and to show our support to their families and friends. Thank you. Before we move on to the agenda, I'm going to ask all those present to briefly introduce themselves so that everyone can identify with the participants in this meeting. And can I remind you to switch their video and microphone on to enable to introduce themselves. First of all, I'm going to ask our Cabinet members to introduce themselves and state their portfolio responsibilities. And I'm now going to go to Councillor Bruce Pickard, who's the Deputy Mayor, right?
Hello, thank you, Mayor. I'm Bruce Pickard, Councillor Bruce Pickard, Deputy Mayor. My portfolio includes responsibility for regeneration, planning, and business and economic development. On internal council functions, I'm responsible for delivery of the investment programme, IT, HR, and the capita contracts.
We now go on to Councillor Carol Burtis.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Councillor Carol Burtis, Cabinet Member for Safer Communities, Community Engagement and Community and Voluntary Sector.
Thank you, Councillor Burtis. And now on to Councillor Steve Cox.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. Good evening, everyone. I'm Councillor Steve Cox, Cabinet Member for Housing.
Thank you. Now on to Councillor Sarah Day.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Councillor Sarah Day. I am Cabinet Member for Culture, Leisure and Sport.
Thank you. Councillor Peter Early.
Good evening, Mayor, everyone. I'm Peter Early. I'm Cabinet Member for Children, Young People and Learning.
Councillor Greg Linden.
I'm Councillor Ray Glidden. I'm the Cabinet Member for Finance and Resources.
Thank you. Councillor Carl Johnson.
I'm Councillor Carl Johnson. I'm the Cabinet Member for Environment and Transport.
Okay, it's
Okay.
Gary Bell. It's Gary Bell. Oh,
Is Councillor Gary Bell here?
I am, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Can you introduce yourself?
My name is Councillor Gary Bell. I'm a current member for Adult Social Care.
Thank you very much. And what about Councillor Margaret Hall? No, Councillor Margaret Hall is Cabinet Member for Public Health and Wellbeing. I'm now going to ask the officers in attendance to introduce themselves, starting off with our Chief Executive.
Good evening, Mayor, everybody else. My name's Paul Hanson. I'm Chief Executive of North Tyneside Council.
Mr. Bryn Roberts.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bryn Roberts. I'm the Head of Law and Governance for North Tyneside Council.
Mr. Phil Scott.
good evening, Mayor and everyone. My name is Phil Scott. I'm the Head of Environment, Housing and Leisure for North Tyneside Council.
And Wendy Burke.
Hello everyone, I'm Wendy Burke and I'm Director of Public Health.
And can you say David Brown?
hello, my name is Dave Brown from Law and Governance.
And Yvonne Harrison.
Hello everyone, my name is Yvonne Harrison from Law and Governance.
I'm now going to ask the young mayor and our partners who are in attendance to introduce themselves. Susie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name's Susan Mackenzie and I'm the young mayor of North Tyneside.
And this is Susie's first cabinet meeting and we're delighted to have her here. Well done, Susie. We're now on to Robin Fry. Who has he managed to come with us tonight? No? No. Karen Goldfinch.
Good evening, Mayor and everybody else. Yes, I'm Karen Goldfinch, Chair of the North Tyneside Business Forum, also a Major Treasure Events and Your Business Pilot, representing the businesses of North Tyneside.
Roger Layton.
Good evening, Mayor. My name is Roger Layton and I'm the Joint Trade Union Secretary for North Tyneside.
And Dawn McNally.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Dawn McNally, Chief Executive of Age UK North Tyneside, representing older people.
Thank you. And has Janice Hutton managed to join us? I know she's, well, Janice Hutton hasn't been able to join us, but she's from the Northumbria Police and works very, very closely with us, particularly at this time. Now, I just want to check, is there anyone else present who I've missed? Fine, thank you very much. For today's meeting, we must first of all deal with some formalities. Apologies for absence. David.
We have apologies from Mark Adams from the Clinical Commissioning Group. No other apologies, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And has anyone declarations of interest and confirmation of the minutes? Can we have any declarations of interest from anyone?
Yes, Mayor, I've got declarations of interest in item 6 and item 9. I become a board member of the company, was appointed by the council.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Yes, Mayor, I have the same register of interest as Councillor Glindon.
Thank you very much. Can we actually look at the minutes from the last meeting we had and can we actually confirm them?
Agreed, Mayor.
Thank you very much. I'm now going to ask Paul Hanson, our Chief Executive, to provide a brief presentation on actions the Council has been taking to respond to the coronavirus pandemic. Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Mayor. So in a moment, Bryn will share a presentation that I'll begin, Wendy will take over, and then Phil Scott will conclude. But before I start, Mayor, I know you and the Cabinet know this, but at this first formal meeting since we began dealing with this crisis, I'd like to say two things. The first is how deeply proud I am to have led the North Tyneside Council officer team during this really difficult time. Their creativity, passion and resilience has been an inspiration to all of us in the senior team and to each other across the whole team. And I just want to put on record my thanks for the work that they have done. I also wanted to thank you, Mayor, the Cabinet and our elected members. I want to thank you for your support and leadership during a particularly difficult time. I want to thank each of the Cabinet members for their involvement and support as we've taken a series of difficult decisions to protect the borough's people and its businesses. I want to thank them for their advice and encouragement during that time. And I also want to thank our elected members who have, as they always do, kept their eyes and ears open for individuals in the borough who need support and businesses in the borough who might need support. So I'm hugely proud of the team and deeply grateful for the Mayor, Cabinet and member support during what has been a kind of certainly the most unique challenge in my career. I'll start with a couple of pictures which are indicative of what we've been up to. We have seen something like a tenth of our workforce, around 300 people, work in jobs that aren't normally their own businesses. As we closed down our sport and leisure centres, we redeployed our sport and leisure team to do a range of jobs that have included supporting the most vulnerable across the community. And that's been done in partnership with our community and voluntary sector and our businesses in an incredibly successful way. If I could move on, please, Bryn. Cabinet will remember that when Wendy, Phil, Bryn and I briefed Council just before the lockdown period, you will remember that we explained to Council that the team leading our response had agreed a set of strategic priorities for our work during the period March, April and May. We worked alongside you and the Cabinet to think about what was necessary. We felt that calm, resilient leadership would be important at a time of significant uncertainty. We were clear we would follow the national guidance, interpret that locally and make it make sense for our teams. We felt that we would have to reflect the context as the disease changed. We knew that a priority for you, Cabinet, all of our members and the borough would be to protect vulnerable people and of course in doing that protecting our colleagues. And then finally, critical to what we did in response was support the borough by delivering essential services, working in partnership with business and the community and voluntary sector. When we looked at those priority and essential services, we thought carefully about what would be essential. Top of that list throughout has been supporting the vulnerable. In the first instance, that's meant supporting those people who currently rely on our social care services in care homes and domiciliary care and other settings, and to make sure that vulnerable children were protected as best we could, where our schools have done a great job of staying open for children who needed additional support and children of key workers. We also had to play our full part in the national shielding scheme, where those who were extremely clinically vulnerable were advised to stay at home for 12 weeks, and a team moved into place at the end of March to make sure that that happened effectively. Prescriptions have been collected, shopping's been done, and cats have been looked after. Everyone on that shielding scheme that needed it has had the support of the authority, as well as partners in the NHS and the community and voluntary sector. And then from the end of March, as you know, Mayor, we spent a lot of time making ourselves available to anybody who was stuck. We turned over our contact centre, we created area teams, and we created a number of ways for people to get in touch with us if they felt they needed additional support. Critical to supporting residents and businesses during a really tough economic time was making sure our revenues, benefits and payments services worked. The team across NG Finance have worked really hard to make sure that individual benefit claims were processed, that boosts to the local council tax support scheme were handled, and that millions of pounds in the support announced nationally was transferred directly and quickly to our businesses. The third thing that was important to us was naturally matters around public health and hygiene, which has at its heart keeping things like the refuse collection service going and making sure that we look after the borough. Sadly, this is a disease that has an impact on our community that meant we had to carefully, in a dignified and sympathetic way, manage the death of more residents than we would have otherwise experienced. And the team have worked hard to carefully handle the national guidance around attendance at ceremonies, but also to make sure that we were able to offer a service during a time where demand for that service had increased as a consequence of the disease. Finally, we knew that through our political team, through you, Cabinet and our members, it was important that we communicated with the borough about what we were doing, what was happening, and showed the right sort of leadership. So against those original priorities and those priority services, that's how the team shaped its work in March, April, May, and heading into June. So if I can hand over to Wendy to talk a little bit more about what we've done.
Hi, thank you, Paul. So I'm going to cover the next 4 slides, and I'm going to start with the first strategic objective, which was around following national guidance, and clearly links to the calm, resilient leadership as well. So you'll be aware since the beginning of the pandemic that there's been a huge amount of national guidance that's been issued really from the word go, and it's been a huge amount of work to stay on top of the guidance that's been issued and to interpret that and then to have a think about what that means for us locally. So in response to that guidance, we've taken each piece of the guidance and, as I say, we've assessed the impact that would have at a local level. We've used the information to disseminate to our staff to make sure that staff are up to date with the information, and we've also taken a number of actions. And on the slide, there are some examples of some of those actions that we have taken over the period of time, from cancelling and rescheduling events, to closing our leisure centres and libraries, to closing crematoria grounds on the 7th of April and then reopening them, having a VE Day celebration that went ahead virtually, closing the waste recycling centre but then reopening again in relation to the guidance that was issued on the 12th of May, closing those car parks, particularly where people were gathering early on, particularly along the seafront, but again reopening them on the 13th of May when some of the restrictions were relaxed, and then pausing some non-essential services that were defined in the national guidance. Next slide, please, Bryn. Can we move on to the next slide, please? So the next strategic priority is around protecting vulnerable people, and as Paul's mentioned, some of the things that we've done in relation to this. So continuity of existing social care has been really important, and particularly for our children and families, but also for older people, for those with learning disability and those with mental health difficulties. So we've continued that provision. There's been a real focus on supporting care homes through a range of different mechanisms, from making sure that they have enough personal protective equipment to making sure they've got access to testing, working with the NHS to ensure that we've got good quick turnaround times, and also staffing capacity and funding. And I think we recognised very early the need to support our care homes, and the fact that you know, we've got amongst the most vulnerable individuals in the community in our care homes, and we recognised that well ahead of it becoming a national priority, and we've led some pretty innovative work from a regional level. Paul's already alluded to the support hub and the helpline that was established in March for those needing non-medical urgent help who couldn't call on anyone else. As Paul's alluded to, that's involved a range of different offers of services for individuals. And you know, we shouldn't underestimate the importance of those people who, particularly the people who have had to shield the kind of social contact that's enabled, whether that be via the telephone or indeed by people dropping off food and spending time to talk to them. VODA has been instrumental in our response, and it's been a real community effort with not only our staff and our staff being redeployed, but also with a range of different volunteers from Age UK, Family Gateway, Cedarwood Trust, to name a few, providing a befriending service and delivering food. And we've had around 43 businesses that have offered their services, which has been just fantastic to see, together with proactive phone calls, letters and leaflets. Next slide, please. Okay, so protecting colleagues is the next strategic objective. And clearly, public health, from a public health perspective, protecting our colleagues is one of our important priorities and something that we focused heavily on. One of the things that we have done from a very early point in the pandemic is followed the guidance around promoting working from home where it is possible to do so. And that has been throughout really since the pandemic started, and that's been really important. And I think we've done that really well. A number of our buildings are not open, and the technology to allow us to work from home has been really important within all of that, particularly for staff having access to laptops and also having access to Teams and enabling them to stay in touch with line managers and also with the teams within which they work. For those staff who have had to come into workplaces or indeed are continuing to visit people out in the community, there are a number of risk assessments that have been carried out prior to any of that happening, particularly for our staff who are working with vulnerable people, and not only to protect the staff, but to protect the residents that they're working with. We have issued a number of different iterations of guidance for infection prevention and control and personal protective equipment. And again, this has been in line with the guidance as it has changed, as we've learned more about how the virus spreads and how the virus spreads and how that's transmitted. Focus on physical and mental health support. Again, making sure that our staff have got access to good information in terms of how to promote physical and emotional and mental well-being, and also making sure that staff have access to testing, particularly our key workers, so health and social care workers, education staff, and making sure that we enable them to get access to testing, so a range of guidance on testing. I think we might have missed a slide. Did we miss the slide on public health, safety and hygiene?
That's it.
Oh, there it is there. Okay, so public health, safety and hygiene. So you'll be aware that at the very heart of this, of the response to the pandemic, has been a real focus on public health, safety and hygiene, not only nationally and regionally, but also for us locally. A key part of that has been about making sure that we promote really clear messages about and through a range of different means about how we can reduce the transmission and also suppress the virus, again in keeping with the national messaging and the scientific advice around that. So we've done a huge amount of work, and again, like to pay tribute to the comms team who have done a fantastic job in getting those messages out across social media. I think acknowledging the impact of both physical and mental health from the pandemic has been really important, and looking at how we can provide advice and information to residents, as we have done for staff, about how to look after their physical and mental well-being. I think particularly for those who are more physically isolated. Also, we've done a huge amount of work around regulation and enforcement services. So in terms of keeping people safe, in terms of making sure that the national guidance has been followed in relation to the businesses that should be closed, and our environmental health officers, licensing, also the Safer Communities team have played a vital role in terms of making sure that that happens. Emptying bins, keeping the town centres clean, cutting the grass is all part and parcel of public health, safety and hygiene. And again, tribute to the staff who have continued to do that in what are very challenging circumstances, together with pest control services. I'm going to stop there, and I think I'm going to hand over to Phil at this point.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Wendy. Well, as Paul mentioned earlier on in his presentation, we had a list of priority services, and Wendy's touched on many services that we continue to deliver throughout this difficult period. I thought was just worth giving a flavour, just what a logistic challenge that was, and how well the whole team have kind of just got behind the effort. We knew early doors that actually working in our individual teams, there was people self-isolating. We knew absence levels were going to increase. We had stood some services down, taking a just traditional approach on just everybody focusing on their service area wasn't going to work. We invented a skills exchange. We asked for volunteers. Does anybody kind of fancy doing a job that actually are not normally employed to do? We absolutely got hundreds of folk coming saying, I'm happy to do whatever. We carried out a skills audit to ensure we're redeploying people to somewhere where they were best suited. And we managed to keep all of those essentials services running right throughout this period. But it isn't from just those teams. So we've got some really varied backgrounds doing kind of strange jobs now. We've got a rock climbing instructor from Hagen Leisure Centre checking on vulnerable people who are on the shielded list. We've got sport and leisure colleagues delivering beach warden services. We've got some apprentices emptying bins and the likes of. So this is just, the team have been absolutely brilliant in making sure we can deliver all of those essential services. I'd like to highlight as well at this point in time that we've had absolute full support from the trade unions along the way. Paul Hunt and myself sitting down on a very, very regular basis with all of the branch secretaries of the trade union, asking if the teams could be flexible and just do different jobs, and absolutely they've been very, very supportive. Our own HR, workforce development team, they've overseen the whole kind of skills exchange, the whole redeployment pool as well. And as part of this as well, we have communicated extensively to our residents which services are paused, why certain services aren't being delivered. Some have been reduced, some haven't been. That's not always kind of met with universal kind of like support. We'll get some people a bit unhappy, but lots of people but at least everybody understands what we're doing and why. And it's a shame Janice Hutton's not on the call, and this is not only just ourselves. Actually, we'll be redeploying people to kind of look at joint initiatives with the police as well to try and promote those social distance messages and those public safety messages as well. But it gives you a flavour that actually this has been quite a big operation to just deliver what we've been delivering over the last few weeks. Next slide, please. And financial support as one of your priorities. We've our record is kind of being held up there. I certainly know regionally in terms of kind of how well we've done some of this. So 28, nearly 29 million pounds worth of grants being paid out to businesses. There are we reckon there was 2,997 eligible businesses to receive support, and we've already processed 2,513 and are knocking on the doors that who haven't asked for that support yet to ask why not. We've got dedicated phone lines have just been established. Our web page was just was turned around quickly to offer support. We'll also offered loads of support to council taxpayers. There was an additional 500 people stepping forward asking for kind of council tax support grants. Of the 9,297 people who were receiving council tax support, we wrote to them and told them they could get some help. 90% of those customers ended up not having to pay any further kind of like council tax bills during these difficult times. So that whole team led by Andy and Janice and the team have really kind of turned around some direct financial support to our residents and businesses in the borough. Next slide, please, Bryn. And now we enter into the recovery phase. So we've gone through responding to the crisis, and we've taken some decisions to stop some stuff, reduce some stuff. Actually, you've now agreed a recovery framework in Cabinet last week. So we now have set out as a framework of recovery. There are 3 phases of this. We're supporting the schools for a phased reopen, and when I say phased reopen, they've never really closed because they've been open all of this time to support the vulnerable children and key workers' children. But as you can see, in line with national legislation, that offer has to broaden. As only yesterday, now we add to that list, actually, there's a whole retail sector that can open their doors on the 15th of July. We'll have to think about how we can support that and kind of create town centres and retail areas that are safe as well. Our recovery priority is to try to get back to the same level of outcomes we were delivering before the pandemic. Obviously, the delivery methods will be absolutely completely different going forward, but we are trying now to get into a phased approach of stepping all of our council services back up to delivering a similar level of outcome where possible as we had done. The first bit of that work is actually making sure our public buildings and our workplaces are COVID secure. Seems to be the new buzzword, but actually they are places that people can still feel safe. And obviously, I think as we kind of enter into the recovery phase, we've got to give confidence to our residents, give hope that actually things can get back to normal, and our businesses can operate in a good environment. And what I would say is, looking at this, I kind of think probably coming out of the lockdown and entering into the recovery phase is probably going to be way more difficult than kind of quickly getting to a position where we were managing the spread of the virus. This is very much going to be a kind of like a step-by-step approach to what can we step up, what can we open. We might have to kind of step back a couple of times on that journey, but as you know, we've got a number of work streams identified. Every single work stream has a lead cabinet member for that, so we are ensuring we're picking up the policy priorities that links in with your policy priorities as we go down that recovery journey, and try and capture some of the stuff that actually, whilst we've been quick to implement and deliver, actually there's some real positives in that. We've reduced our carbon footprint dramatically. We've cut out a lot of business miles. We've gone to a lot of the digital solutions for an awful lot of things. There's an awful lot that we want to capture as we go, as actually people talk about the new normal, that once we're out of this recovery phase, that maybe we can pick up some of that good practice along the way. And I think that's the last slide.
Thank you very, very much, Paul, Wendy and Phil, much appreciated. I'm now going to ask if anyone wants to ask any questions about that presentation. Anyone? Does anyone want to make any comments about that presentation?
Yes, Chair.
Right, Councillor Glendon, yeah.
I'd like to make a comment. I mean, these are unprecedented times that we're in here today. And the presentation by Paul, Wendy and Phil was excellent, really good. There's a lot of people in the background. Obviously, with us not getting into quadrant, you don't see what's going on. There's a lot of people in the background that's made all this stuff happen.
Yeah.
I'd like to give my sincere thanks to all the staff, including our partners. And Paul mentioned the 12-week shielding. I'm one of these people that's into the 12-week shielding. And I got a phone call from a young lady from the council who was just so good at what she did. To me, just made me feel entirely different to what I felt sitting in the house for 12 weeks. Luckily, I've got a family member who's able to look after me, but all I'll say is that if they speak to others the way she spoke to me, you know, it really does mean a lot to people who would be on their own. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Glendon. Anyone else want to comment?
Yes, Madam Mayor, please.
Yes, Karen.
Hi, thank you. I just want to say a big thank you to everybody in the council to all the support they have given to the businesses. They have been phenomenal in what they have done. From all the teams, from the rates, from Paul's team, from Sean's team, everybody. We really do appreciate it, and it has been noted from a lot of the businesses. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Karen. Anyone else? Carol Burdis, Councillor Burdis.
Thank you. I mean, we're all going to probably be saying the same thing, but I really want to make it clear that our community and voluntary sector and our every individual resident in North Tyneside should be congratulated for coming together the way they have. I think we now see true communities out there working together for the good of this, and I think North Tyneside are a better place for the people that live in it and all of the work and everything that I do. So I take my hat off to everyone, but it's not just my hat. I think we all need to congratulate the people out there, the residents, community voluntary sector businesses and our officers. They've done a sterling job, and I think keeping, you know, even our elected members, they're still doing their councillor work, and I think we're just doing what needs to be done, keeping the communities together. I'd just like to say that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to comment? Yes, Roger, thank you very much.
Just the same thing, really, but it's brilliant to see the collaboration between the voluntary and community sector and the council. Seamless in delivering the services. It's fantastic, and I think the management leadership team have been brilliant throughout the whole of this.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
I think Robin wants to speak.
Yes, Robin, yes.
Yes, sorry for my late arrival, first of all. Yeah, I guess not to labour the point too much, but I think probably the speed we were able to respond was due to the relationships that were already in place. I think we would probably still be trying to organise ourselves now if we didn't already have those relationships. So I guess it just reaffirms how important it is that actually we know who's who and we're ready to respond when called upon.
Thank you very much, Councillor Steve Cox.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's to follow on from what other people have said. I've had numerous contacts from members, elected members, and they're given their entire support for the staff, and the residents are contacting them, and then they're asking this is passed on to all the staff across that the work they've done to protect the residents and to continue to deliver the services, which I think we should all be really proud of the way they've behaved. Thank you.
Anyone else before? Right, I hope you'll let me indulge for 2 minutes. I'm sure you will. I just want to say I'm extremely proud to be the elected mayor, and I'm quite emotional here, of North Tyneside. I think you've all been fantastic, absolutely amazing. A big thank you to Paul and his staff for what they have done in pulling this together. A really big thank you to the people who are out on the frontline service delivering, especially the bin service who sing to me when they come every morning on a Wednesday and they smile and they wave. Absolutely fantastic. And those are jobs that a lot of people don't want to do. They're absolutely amazing. To our teachers who, regardless of anything, have gone into schools all this time and looked after the children so our national health people can go out and save lives. I just want to say to my cabinet members, I want to thank you for the support you give me and for the amazing work you're doing with your officers. I want to say thank you to our councillors who are still out, regardless of what party they belong to, they're still out in the community working hard and doing whatever they can to support everyone. To the unions, Roger,
Thank you.
To your colleagues who have been absolutely amazing.
Thanks.
I know not everybody has that same support in the other areas, but I know we have a good working relationship, and thank you for your support, and please thank your colleagues.
I will do that.
Thank you. To the voluntary sector, well done, Robin. But having said that, we've always had a good working relationship. I can go back a long time, and you always, when the chips are down, we work together for our residents. So thank you very much. And to your 250 or so volunteers, amazing. I've had some lovely feedback. You see, I'm in the privilege sometimes of getting really positive messages, and I get some funny ones as well at other times. But I've had some really positive messages about what your people are doing. And thanks to our staff who are working with you to make that a huge success, thank you. And to our social workers who just go on and are dealing with some very difficult cases, thank you so much. And to all those who have to manage to keep the borough going and take some difficult choices, Carl, like opening the car parks or closing the car parks or whatever. Thank you very much, because I think you've done extremely well. I do appreciate it. And I got an email today from the Bay Food Bank to thank the council, because they're saying without the help of our workers, they couldn't have got all the help to the vulnerable people. So absolutely fantastic. And Karen, when one of the businesses sends me an email and tells me I'm a diamond, we must be doing something right, to be quite honest. So thank your businesses very much for giving us that support. I do appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
And to the Age Concern, who I know are doing amazing things. I am so proud to be the elected mayor of North Tyneside. And as we've managed with this crisis and making things happen, working together, we will go to the recovery stage and we'll come out that, because we're going to work together and make things happen for the people we care about out there. So thank you so much for everything. If I've missed anybody, I do apologise, but I'm just overjoyed by how we've managed to do this and the positive things that you're doing for the residents of North Tyneside. And can I just tell you something? That's why we were elected. We're elected, and you're the officers, to do the best for the people we serve, and the businesses too. So thank you so much. It's been an amazing time. And you go on, it's not over yet, but we'll work together to get, I can't see the light yet, but I'm seeing a flicker at the end of this tunnel. And I know by working together, we'll get there. So thank you so much indeed, thank you. Now we'll go on to the main agenda, and thank you much for that presentation. The next item, excuse me, is the presentation of North Tyneside Council's response. Sorry, I'm on the wrong agenda here. The next one is the statutory consultation on changes to provision at Melrose Centre, Longbenton, and I'm going to hand over to you, Councillor Early.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is to inform Cabinet about the outcome of the statutory consultation on the proposed changes to secondary education for children with autism in North Tyneside. It is proposed that the education offer at Southland School would be formally changed to include children with autism. Associated with that, it's proposed that the Melrose Centre at Longbenton High School would become special educational provision under the leadership of Southland School. These changes would take effect from September 2020. It is vital that the authority continues to work alongside schools to meet the needs of children with special educational need and disability, and to increase the number of specialist places for children with autism. I would also very much like to emphasise that the continuity of children's education remains our top priority as we consider these changes. We know that the Melrose Centre is highly regarded by parents, and we understand that parents will want reassurance about what the changes would mean for their child. We've been clear that it is the leadership of the Melrose Centre that would change, and not the location of the centre or the staff team who work there. The authority has followed the Department of Education's statutory guidance on making significant changes to maintain schools. The first part of that was an informal consultation which was carried out with parents and carers, school staff, and with the governing bodies of the schools involved. This took place in November and December last year. Following Cabinet's approval in January, a statutory consultation has been carried out. The governing bodies of both schools have confirmed their support for the proposal, and no issues have been identified through the consultation which would prevent the proposals from being implemented. In conclusion, I would ask that Cabinet accepts the recommendation set out in paragraph 1.2 of the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Early. Has anyone got any questions for Councillor Early regarding this paper? Anyone got any comments? I would just like to say that thank you, Councillor Early, because you know, there has been great concern from parents about how we deal with autism for our children. So I think this is a big step forward. And to be quite honest, thank you very much for all the help you've done to make this happen, and our officers, of course. Well then, can we agree that paper then?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Everyone's agreed. Thank you very much. Now we're on to item 6, which is the North Tyneside Trading Company Strategic Business Plan. And I think that's me. The North Tyneside Trading Company was established as a company limited by shares in December 2012. The trading company is wholly owned by the authority, and the authority is therefore the sole shareholder of the trading company. The trading company was created to provide services to public bodies and to other customers as considered appropriate, enabling trading in new markets in different places. All projects undertaken by the trading company will aim to return a surplus or profit to the authority and seek to achieve a regeneration objective in line with the authority's Our North Tyneside plan and ambition for North Tyneside. Projects will be delivered at least cost neutral to the authority. The trading company has 2 active subsidiary companies. These subsidiaries are owned totally by the trading company. The trading company and its subsidiaries are each governed by the respective board of directors and are guided by their articles of association, which regulate the affairs of each company. In accordance with the best practice, the trading company has a strategic business plan, which is updated each year to provide a sense of direction for the company and to guide business development. The board of directors of the trading company has reviewed and refreshed the strategic plan for 2020 to 2023. The strategic business plan attached in the Appendix 1 sets out the trading company's history, its governance arrangements, its mission, purpose, and its approach to appraising business opportunities, its assets, products, and services and risks. And it is recommended that the Cabinet approve the trading company's strategic business plan for 2020 to 2023. Does anyone want to comment, ask any questions about this? Does anyone want to make any comments about this?
Yeah.
Councillor Pickard, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. As a director appointed by the council, it's good to be involved in this successful organisation. I think people should understand what it's actually done. It's delivered 49 houses for affordable rent with an ambition of reaching 100. We've just completed the 12 bungalows at Wallington Close, which are up for sale, and also the redevelopment of the Emperor's Point, the 12 luxury homes in Whitley Bay. We're also busy working on the regeneration of the 28 homes for sale in Northumberland Square, and finally working at Backworth Primary School. It's good to see that the trading companies have delivered all of these affordable homes, developed council sites and major regeneration schemes, all of this and delivered a financial return to the council, and that the company will look forward to be involved in the regeneration schemes moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pickard. I think it is a positive message. It's been a positive adventure, and I think at the end of the day, you, along with your colleagues, have done us proud, to be quite honest. Does anyone else want to comment on that? No. Can we agree that then?
Agreed.
Thank you very much. Now then, I'm now going to, we're on to, just hang on a moment. I've got
Item 7, which is Findings of Ofsted inspection.
7 is it's the findings of the Ofsted inspection of North Tyneside Children's Social Care Service, and that's over to you, Peter.
Thank you, Mayor. This item relates to the findings of the recent Ofsted inspection of the Council's Children's Social Care Services that took place in March this year. Ofsted judged the overall effectiveness of services for children provided by the Council and partners to be outstanding, and placing the authority within a small group of top performing children's services within the country. The findings confirm that services to help, support and care for children and young people within the borough have continually improved over the last 3 years. These services include early help, social care, services to children in care, care leavers and fostering and adoption. In their report, Ofsted made 2 formal recommendations. Both recommendations related to areas for development already known to officers, and improvement work was ongoing at the point of inspection. Officers have developed their response by way of the proposed action plan. This is required to be submitted for approval by the Secretary of State and Her Majesty's Chief Inspector by 21st of July 2020. It is recommended that Cabinet note, firstly, the positive findings of Ofsted, including the overall effectiveness of services, being graded outstanding. And secondly, the areas for development identified by Ofsted and the commitment by the service area to address these and to continue to improve and develop services for children, young people, parents and carers. And just before I finish, since I didn't speak earlier on, I would just like, as part of my feedback on this report, to emphasise the fantastic work done by all the staff across children's services and education at the time of the inspection, and it was doubly impressive because the inspection took place at the same time as we were preparing to go into lockdown in order to fight the pandemic. So it really was a fantastic achievement, and I think one well worth noting.
Thank you, Councillor. Does anybody want any questions about that? Does anyone want to make any comments?
Yeah, I'd like to comment there.
Yes, Councillor Clinton.
I think I've said it before, but it's just tremendous news to this council. And I thank all the staff again for what they've done, but I'd also like to thank a cabinet member because he's played quite a large part in this. And Peter's one of these people who, like, doesn't take the praise, but I'd like to, on your behalf, thank Peter very, very much. And again, and all the staff that took part in it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Glendon. Anyone else? Well, I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate all our staff on this amazing, outcome of that inspection. I know how hard they all work, and they were working in very difficult times and in difficult circumstances. And I think they've done an amazing job. And a big thank you to Councillor Early as the cabinet member. He's had some difficult chores to carry out in the last few weeks. And I have to tell you that he is very conscientious. I hope I'm not embarrassing you, Councillor Early, but he's very conscientious and hardworking, and he just gets on into the job. And a big thank you, I'm sure, from all of us. And I'm sure all of us are very proud of the fact that our children's services in North Tyneside are outstanding. Thank you so much. We now, sorry, I'm going to ask the Cabinet to pass the exclusion resolution, because we'll have to consider the agenda item 9, and it has to be carried out in private session, and the live stream will be switched off at that point. So thank you all for coming along and participating in the meeting. Thank you, and take care and stay safe and keep on doing your best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.